Hello and welcome back to some big news this week in Formula 1. Adrian Newey has been named Aston Martin's team principal for 2026. Newey only joined the team in March as a technical partner and now he's set to replace Andy Kyle in what Lawrence Stroll called a mutual decision. Kyle isn't going far, however. He will stay on in the team in a new chief strategy role. This marks Aston Martin's third team principal in just 12 months. Newey will continue as managing technical partner alongside his team principal responsibilities. So, the big question is this just another interim move from Aston Martin to get the team back on track or a long-term appointment? And what does this say about what's going on behind the scenes at Aston Martin? Jason, do you have any initial thoughts on the Adrian Newey news this week?
Yes, well, I want to say, first of all, thank you for having me again, as always. I am just as surprised as probably everybody else. I can't believe this. Do you know what I mean?
It is a strange move.
It is very strange. You know what I mean? For him only joining the team in March and to already move roles, it's a hard. I think it's a hard thing to decipher.
I think it is as well because he was going there under the illusion of literally just designing the car.
Yeah.
From what I understood, whenever he'd moved to Aston Martin, it was kind of like, I want to get back into designing the whole cars. Andy Kyle. He wasn't doing a fantastic job, let's be honest, though.
The team has been dropping off significantly.
They've been quite bad, even though they've shown flashes of performance this year. I don't know if Andy Kyle's quite what they were looking for, but to bring Adrian Newey in feels a bit strange. But we do know that Newey had some concerns about Aston Martin's operational aspects. You know, he was talking about the driver and loop simulator, saying it's, so many years behind and out of date and all this carry on. So is it more of a thing to get the team aligned going into 2026, before they bring somebody else in? But even then, if it is to do that, why not just keep Andy Kyle there and have Adrian guiding him kind of thing until they bring somebody else in? So it seems like a strange one to bring in unless you were going to keep him there for at least some amount of time.
I mean, yeah, I think that is fair. But at the end of the day, Alonso said it was a logical change.
He did.
And Alonso has been in that team since 2022.
Yes.
So he has got a decent amount of experience. I would almost say he probably knows more about that team than Stroll.
He does have the experience, to be fair. Now, Stroll's been there for yonks, but Alonso does have the experience. I feel Alonso probably knows at least more how F1 teams work operationally, and I think he knows better than Stroll who's going to be a good leader. That's not to say Stroll doesn't know who's going to be a good leader. You can't just write him off completely.
No, absolutely not.
Alonso he is the most experienced person on the grid.
Absolutely.
So if it's got the backing of him, there must be some kind of
there has to be something to it. Do you know what I mean? It seems so unorthodox to get somebody in less than a year ago and to already promote them. You know what I mean? We haven't even seen the car that he's built yet on track.
That's the thing I'm worried about, because does this mean that Andy Kyle needs to have a look at the engine more now?
Is aerodynamics...
Is the engine maybe not as good? Is the engine packaging maybe not as good as they want it to be? So they have to bring him out of this role and maybe shoehorn somebody in for the short term? Not too sure. Obviously, Andy Kyle, load of experience at Mercedes with powertrains and what have you. So
he was the Mercedes guru,
He was.
He was very good at Mercedes. This is the first time in 40 years. Newey's been in the sport for 40 years now. And it's his first time being team principal. This is probably the biggest role he's ever had to take on.
Especially as staying on as that technical partner role. That's a huge workload he's going to have to take. Now, we don't know what kind of team principal he's going to be. Obviously, from what I understand, Newey doesn't like the whole people management side of things, integrating with sponsors and all that stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how he handles team principal.
Yeah, Aston Martin, they're saying this is a statement of serious ambition for them, you know what I mean? So they're expecting this to push them forward. You know what I mean? It's almost like them putting all their eggs into the basket at this point now because they've put all their money on Adrian Newey.
Yeah, and I think we're pretty much on the bubble for this 5-year plan that Stroll had. It's kind of make or break now. If we go into 2026 and the car's not there, you've got everybody there. You've got Newey, you've got Alonso, you've got Kyle, you've got that Mike Crack guy. You've got all these big names, huge talent of that team now. And it is make or break. This is, and as you say, if it is a statement of intent, is Newey really the right person? I think he's
I think it might not necessarily be that he's the right person, but I think they need somebody. You know what I mean? Like they were looking really strong at the start of 2022 whenever Alonso was able to get podiums, and I think they were expecting to carry that momentum a little bit better than they did, and they haven't. And now they're really getting to the end of this point here. They've got Alonso for another year. They're getting to the end of Lawrence Stroll's 5-year plan. If they don't make a big turnaround by the start of 2026, end of 2025 here, Alonso's going to jump. Adrian Newey's going to maybe see 2 years, see how it's going on, and doesn't agree with it, and he's going to jump. Do you know what I mean? So it's get it done now, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is a big move. This has to work. And then again, it brings up the question, does this mean Horner's out of the picture now? Because obviously that was circulating for a while.
That's right. People were talking about Horner coming back into the F1, and now Adrian Newey's been announced as team principal.
And that's kind of why I'm like, is this an interim position? You know, Newey knows how Horner works. He worked in Red Bull alongside him for as long as Red Bull was going.
Yeah, 20 years.
Is Adrian in here to set up the team, to get everything kind of lubricated before Horner sort of comes in? I mean, it's not out of the question,
no,
but it feels like a strange thing to do.
It does, and especially another strange thing is this creation of this new role, this chief strategy officer. It's almost like they don't want to have him in the team principal role anymore, but then they also want to keep him in the team.
He does have the experience. I don't think they were ever just going to throw him out.
I just think it's such a weird thing to do. So it is.
It is. It'll be interesting to see how Newey approaches the operational concerns that he had about the driver in the loop simulator, because as we know, like, you know, Aston Martin's development path has been not fantastic. More often than not, to take, you know, one step forward, 2 steps back, and then just take a side step. So like, it'll be good to see him taking that stuff head on, because as team principal, he's going to be in charge of absolutely everything. So like, he is going to be trying to get everything in line, you know, in terms of like development plans, driver and loop plans, kind of stuff like that there, to really push the team forward. So I think that's the main thing I'm excited for, that I think's really, really good to have Adrian there, because he is an engineer. He's an incredible engineer. He knows what he's doing whenever it comes to designing cars, and I'd like to think he knows what he's doing whenever it comes to running race teams, because he's done driver. He's been a performance engineer for drivers before, back in the 80s and the 90s. Like, you know, he's done nearly every single aspect within
every job you can do within a team,
in a motor racing team. And the last one he hasn't done really is team principal. So like, he does have the experience. He does know what he's doing, and he strikes me as the kind of person that wouldn't take on something like this unless he knew it was right.
Yeah, it does seem like the logical step from a career standpoint. Do you know what I mean? If you've been in F1 for 40 years, you've designed so many brilliant cars. I think of a combined, all the cars that have won him, the team's races that he's worked for, is 223. Like, it's a lot. Do you know what I mean? That man he could almost be classed as one of the most successful people in F1.
Well, yeah, I think he is.
Yeah.
Like, I think ultimately, you know, statistics-wise, obviously he's not a driver, but if you go by race wins and championships, I think he is the most successful person to ever be involved in the sport.
It's weird how nobody ever actually talked about it until it happened. I don't think anyone ever talked about Adrian Newey being a team principal, and you know what I mean? And then when it happens, it sort of seemes like one of those organic things.
It did come as a bit of a blindside.
It was a blindside.
It came out of the blue for me. Like, I was just scrolling through Autosport and then refreshed it, and next thing you know, there's a headline, Adrian Newey to replace Andy Cowell, and it was kind of like, flip's sake, what's going on here? Which is why it irked me a little bit. It's kind of like, is this a show of, you know, uncertainty from like the higher ups in Aston Martin? Because obviously you had Mike Crack, then you had Andy Cowell, and now you have Adrian Newey. I think that's in the space of 12 months.
It's almost given Ferrari.
It's very Ferrari.
Isn't it? It's like,
very Ferrari.
It's almost given Ferrari.
I don't know.
Is it a loss of direction, and it's sort of like a hit and hope? It's like we've tried out this guy, he's not working. We tried out Mike Crack, it's not working. We're getting so late to the point here, we need something to work. It's like, get Adrian in and get him to do as much as possible.
Yeah. Which then that brings on the extra workload again. What does that look like? Like, have they moved him into this role now that he's almost finalized his 2026 design? He's designed the car, And that's, okay, Adrian, you've done what you needed to do. We'll move you on to team principal. And he's going to be doing majority team principal roles. Like, we know he likes being out at the grid. He's always walking around other cars. He's always taking notes. He inspects every car. So it'll be good for him from a standpoint to be on the grid again.
Yeah.
And is it going to be a case of, you're team principal, you have to do all the media stuff, but you're going to guide the engineering team how to upgrade the car, how to develop the car? Because I think I can't see the regulations changing too much. He's got the base of the car designed, I'd imagine now. Coming into December, the cars are probably halfway built. So
has he laid out the floor plan for the development team to be like, this is the direction we're going. If we focus on this, we're gonna look strong. Now that he's got that set in place, he's got the engineers. They can work on that car, and then he can go spend more time focusing on things that might be more important to him, like you say, being a leadership role, being on the grid, gathering that super important information and bringing it back to the
as well as getting that operational stuff set back up. There could be pit stops, driver sims, stuff like that there. So it'll be interesting to see how he handles it. I think obviously they've said he's staying as that technical partnership role. I think it might be slightly less involved from here on out. I think he's done the bulk of his work to get the car designed. He's probably got the car ready to go. So I think this is more of just trying to align Aston Martin more with like a winning mentality.
Create more synergy.
Yeah. Align our KPIs and corpo buzzwords central. But it's interesting. It is big news. It'll be interesting to see how it works out. Andy Kyle obviously staying at the team, excellent with engines at Mercedes. So they might have issues with that. We just don't know.
It's interesting to see how it's going to affect the atmosphere around Qatar as well.
Well, I don't know if it'll affect it too much, if I'm being honest. It was described as a mutual decision, which strikes me to believe that probably Adrian and Andy Kyle came to that.
Everybody was on board with it.
They were like, I'll move out of this way for you to. I reckon there was probably a fair bit of discussion between Stroll and Newey and Kyle about this. I don't think this doesn't read as like a corporate ousting. This, if it was, they would have just binned him. It does feel like a restructure. So.
Rather than a purge.
Yeah, if it was a purge, people would be going. But I think you'd be mad to purge people at this stage because you've got everybody you need. You've got everybody in that organisation. It just needs to work. You just need to design a good car and get it operationally lined up, which is what I think the ultimate goal of this year is.
Of this changes.
Yeah.
I know, I would have to agree. And it's almost getting to this point now. There's a very big elephant in the room, and it's Lance Stroll.
I think he's secure.
He's secure, but is he good enough? Whenever this car comes around in 2026, and whenever he doesn't perform or does perform, what's going to happen? Do you know what I mean? That's the thing I've been thinking about. Aston Martin have been doing so much to try and get this team ready to win a championship. They're not going to win. I'm sorry. This might be personal opinion, but they're not going to win one with Lance Stroll. They're not going to do it. It has to be Alonso. And I don't even think Lance Stroll could pull in the constructors with an Adrian car.
I disagree.
You disagree?
I disagree. I think if you get I'm not the biggest Lance Stroll fan, but then I'm not like one of these, I'm not a generational Stroll hater.
I'm not a generational hater, but you know what I mean? I think if Lando did everything that Stroll did, you would have the right to call him bad. I
mean, I'm not saying he's good, but he's not fantastic.
No,
but
and we've seen what happened with Red Bull. One driver doesn't make a team.
No, that is very true.
Is it gonna happen again? Are the you know what I mean?
I would be willing to bet if you give him at least a consistent car that was fast, I think he'd probably be a safe-ish pair of hands. He's not going to light the world on fire. He's not going to be. I don't think he's going to be fighting for championships.
Nope, he's never going to.
I think he'll get the solid points. Like, if he's able to get a car that's fast enough to sort of bring him out of that midfield, he's not constantly squabbling and down in 18th fighting for Q3s and Q2s.
But that's what was happening whenever Alonso was getting poles and getting podiums.
It's like chalk and cheese. I feel it's like comparing Yuki and Max. They're two completely different planes of driver. It is hard to compare, I think. Then
you're almost getting to the point, was Aston's car built like Red Bulls to where it could only sort of suit a driving style and a driver?
No, because we've seen it before. Alonso can drag performance out of a car. 2012 being a good example of that. Ferrari had absolutely no right to be fighting for a championship. Like, I think Alonso has just one of those innate abilities to connect with a car and drive it well and just drag performance out of it the same way Max can.
So you're almost saying that Aston wasn't as good as maybe
I don't think
he was letting it out to be, and just maybe the fact that it was so early in the season, teams were, you know what I mean, haven't got their upgrades in, haven't developed the car properly for the start of the year, and Aston were able to jump that gap, get a couple points, make themselves look good.
Yeah, the only thing that makes me sort of backstroll is like there's always sort of flashes of brilliance. I think if he's got a car that can sort of make that brilliance a bit more consistent, I think he'd probably be okay. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see. But that's the news this week. Adrian Newey, Aston Martin team principal
for 2026 and this foreseeable future.
And the foreseeable future, unless Christian Horner decides to show up. But we just don't know.
We don't know what's going to happen. It's F1. Anything can happen.
And it usually does.
But yeah, that. I think that'll wrap us up for today, guys. We just wanted to cover that news and sort of give you our thoughts on it. We're going to be back for the Qatar race review, probably at the start of the week, Monday or Tuesday. But yeah, that's all for me. Thank you.
And all for me. All right.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.